I was never the type to believe in the supernatural. I was always a skeptic, the logical person in the group, the one who laughed at ghost stories and mocked those who swore they had experienced something strange. All of that changed that night, about a year ago. It was a Friday like any other, and I had just moved into a new house in the countryside. The house was old, built in the late 70s, but well maintained. The previous owners had done a good job renovating it, but had kept some original features, which gave the place a vintage charm. From the first day, I felt something different about that house, but I always thought it was just the usual feeling of adjusting to a new environment. That night, the wind was particularly strong. I remember hearing the trees shaking furiously outside as I watched TV in the living room. The windows rattled, but I didn't care much. Around midnight, I decided to go to bed. I slowly climbed the stairs, feeling the cold seep into my bones, despite the heating being on. That's when it happened for the first time. As I approached the bedroom door, it was slightly ajar. I found it odd because I was sure I had closed the door before heading downstairs. My bedroom had always been a sacred place for me. I never liked leaving it open, especially at night. A slight chill ran down my spine, but I ignored it. The strong wind had probably pushed the door open. I entered the room and closed the door behind me, this time making sure to lock it. I was too tired to think about anything, and within minutes, I was fast asleep. In the middle of the night, I was awakened by a subtle noise. It was like the creak of a door slowly opening. My heart raced. I immediately opened my eyes, and the room was engulfed in darkness. However, I could see a thin strip of light from the hallway cutting across the room. My bedroom door was open again. Not just ajar, but wide open. I knew for sure I had locked it. I got out of bed quickly, my heart pounding like a drum. I walked to the door, gripping the handle tightly. I looked down the empty hallway, the darkness only broken by the moonlight filtering through the windows. The silence was suffocating. I took a deep breath, closed the door again, and went back to bed. This time, I felt something different, a strange heaviness in the air. It was like I was being watched. I tried to shake off the feeling, but it was almost palpable. It took me a while to fall asleep again, but eventually, sleep overcame me. The next morning came as a relief. In the daylight, everything seemed normal. I convinced myself I had dreamed the door being open. Fatigue had played a trick on me. That's what I thought. But, at night, it all started again. This time, I was determined to prove to myself that nothing strange was happening. I closed the bedroom door, locking it carefully, and placed a small object on the floor, right against the door, so it would fall if someone or something opened it. That would give me proof that I wasn't imagining things. When I woke up in the middle of the night, the noise was there again. The creak. My stomach knotted. I sat up in bed, waiting for the inevitable. I looked at the door, and just like the previous night, it was open. The object I had placed in front of it was on the floor. The fear was real now. The door wasn't just opening by itself. Something was moving it. I could no longer ignore it. I couldn't come up with any more rational excuses for it. Something, or someone, was inside my house. In the following days, the activity continued, but it intensified. It wasn't just the door. Now, I could hear faint footsteps downstairs in the middle of the night. They sounded like the footsteps of a small child, soft and quick, but there was never anyone there when I checked. Other doors in the house started opening by themselves. Lights flickered. Whispers I couldn't understand echoed through the rooms. The shadows in the hallway seemed to stretch longer than usual, as if they were watching me, waiting for the right moment. I was becoming paranoid. I wasn't sleeping well. It felt like something was toying with me, testing my limits. Until, finally, I couldn't stay alone in that house anymore. One night, as I lay in bed, already accustomed to the sound of the door creaking, something changed. The creak was followed by footsteps, heavy this time, coming toward the bed. My heart pounded so hard it felt like it would burst out of my chest. I couldn't move. Fear paralyzed me. I knew something was there. I could feel the air getting heavier, the cold growing around me. Suddenly, the bed dipped slightly, as if someone had sat next to me. The sound of breathing wasn't mine. It was as if someone was breathing close to my face. My eyes were fixed on the ceiling, unable to look to the side. I tried to scream, but no sound came out of my mouth. Then I felt something touch my shoulder, a cold, heavy hand. That night, I fled the house. I left everything behind, including my sanity. As I drove away, I felt a strange sense of relief and freedom, but also the terrible awareness that something was wrong. What I didn't know was that the real nightmare was just beginning. I rented a small apartment in the city center, trying to move on with my life. I thought that being far from that house would put an end to the torment. For a while, it seemed like everything was returning to normal. However, a few weeks later, the same things began happening again. Doors opening on their own, footsteps echoing in the silence of the night, and the unsettling feeling of being watched. One night, I woke up to the sound of my bedroom door slowly opening. The creak was the same. My muscles tensed as I realized I was no longer in the old house. How could this be happening again? I didn't want to believe it, but it was impossible to deny. The thing that terrorized me in that house had followed me. I got up with my heart racing and went to the door, now wide open. Outside, in the apartment hallway, I saw nothing. But I knew I wasn't alone. A presence, stronger than ever, was there, as real as the air I breathed. I took a deep breath and, for the first time, decided to confront whatever it was. I approached the hallway mirror, the only object I brought from the old house. I had always thought it was a harmless item, a vintage mirror that fit the decor. But when I looked at myself in it, something changed. It wasn't my reflection I saw. There was someone behind me. It was an indistinct figure, a shadow with a human shape. I froze, panic gripping every cell of my body. I felt a cold breeze on my neck, and the figure in the mirror moved closer, slowly. I tried to turn around, but I couldn't move. My eyes remained fixed on the mirror. Then, the truth hit me like a sharp blade. That presence, the thing that followed me, wasn't just a malicious spirit or some common supernatural force. It was me. The figure in the mirror took shape, and I could finally see its face. It was my face, a distorted, shadowy reflection, as if it had decayed. It wasn't just a haunting. It was me, or what I had become after leaving the house. That entity had fused with me somehow, and I was slowly turning into it. With a laugh echoing in my ears, I realized the worst. I hadn't fled the house. The house had fled with me. From that moment on, I knew it was only a matter of time before I lost myself completely. The reflection smiled, and I knew I was doomed. Now, I'm trapped in this cycle, carrying the darkness with me. And if you listen closely at night, you might hear the sound of a door creaking open. When that happens, look in the mirror. You might see me. Or maybe it's already you.